Wait a minute. There we go. Okay, let's try this again because I haven't recorded in a while. It took me a little bit of practice. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Brindley. Thank you so much for being here with us. I think after me, David Young, who you see here in the corner, and probably Deb Bennett are your biggest fans. We were the Canadians, the diehard Canadians that were following the pivot shift calls. Just to hear you and James. So thank you so much for being here. I'm going to let you do an intro because you do it best. And thank you so much. And we really look forward to hearing what you got to say.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to be here today. Thank you, Irene, for the honor and the privilege. For those of you that were on the pivot call and maybe you just logged in, I look a little bit different than I did on those calls. It was 5 a.m. Every day for me, so getting up at 4:30, that's what you got. You got me in my pajamas with a messy bun and in my bed still. So I don't always look like that. I typically look like this, yet I was so grateful to be able to contribute to those. So a little bit about me. I've been in the Keller Williams family. It'll be 9 years in November. I started at the market center level as a director of agent services, and that was in November of 2011. In February of 2012, I went to my first family reunion and I started making some major changes in my life. If you want to hear more about my personal story, you can check out the One Thing podcast, episode 78. Episode 78, I'll put it in the chat for you. And that tells you a lot about my personal journey. I think it's a great story. It might help you. It might help someone in your life. So I encourage you, if you're on a long drive, it's 30 minutes, take a listen. Went through personal changes, ended up leaving the market center, and a few agents hired me to do their admin work. So I don't know, Irene, if you all were in the family when E-Edge came out. Yes, so you remember.
This is my 13th year.
Yeah, so Irene, you remember, we've been through this tech shift before, right? And so agents would hire me to do all of their marketing and E-Edge and database, and I taught myself contract to close through that. So I always say I've closed over 2,000 real estate transactions, yet I've never sold a house. My primary focus is on operations, team building, leadership, systems, and leverage. That is my specialty. Just to wrap up kind of my autobiography, ended up building the director of ops program for MAPS for about 2.5 years, and then decided to pass that along to other operations folks to give them opportunity and refocus on my team. My team, we recruit and train all admin ops positions within a real estate team. So people leverage the career between process for us in the US and in Canada. And then we also hire every other position except for agents. So we've really created this opportunity to help agents with leverage. We also do TC, listing management, database management for agents inside Canada and the US in order to give them temporary leverage while they find their permanent leverage. So wrapping that up, that's kind of me in a nutshell. And what I'd like to do is share my screen to get us started. Can everyone see leverage your way to freedom?
Yep, we're good.
Awesome.
Yep, we're good.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so a couple things, and you may ask yourself, okay, Brindley, why are you starting with mindset? I start every presentation that I do, no matter what the topic, with mindset. I believe that 99.9% of what we do in life all starts up here. And if we don't have the right mindset, it's either going to work against us or it's going to work for us. Our brains, I call the CPU of our bodies, right? It is our motherboard. It is where everything programs, and it's a muscle. And we have to build it every day. We have to take care of it. We have to feed it, and we have to build that muscle. So Gary talks on page 308 of the MREA around a 5-step energy plan to start your day. Now, the reason that I talk about mindset, a 5-step energy plan, and the story wheel, which we're going to cover next, is because when we talk about leverage, when it comes to bringing people into your business, you have to be the person that you want to attract. I'm single. I'm always collecting resumes, and I'm single. And a lot of my journey in the last 8 years has been becoming the person that I want to have in a partner, right? So we attract who we are. So in business, we have to become the type of leaders to attract the people we want to lead, right? So 5-step energy plan, Gary teaches us that you're going to do all of these things before 11 a.m. in the morning. You're going to get your spiritual energy. Now, you'll hear me say, I will never judge your God as long as it's not you, right? Your God can be the universe. It can be the doorknob. It can be a group of people. It can be whatever you choose it to be, as long as it's not you and you don't think you're God, right? And so every morning, you want to do something for spiritual energy, whether it's pray, meditate, just sit in silence, whatever that is, to draw in spiritual energy. Number 2 is you want physical energy. So you want to exercise and you want to eat. A lot of us will get very busy, right? And the minute we get pulled into our day, we forget to eat. Has anybody ever gotten to 5 o'clock and you're like, I haven't eaten all day? Yep, it happens, right? And we're not the best partners at night to show up for our families because we're hangry, we're tired, and we didn't take care of ourselves, right? Number 3 is emotional energy. Hug, kiss, laugh. This can be with your puppies even. It can be with your partners, just as long as you're getting some type of strong emotional energy. What happens, folks, is that every single one of these things releases a different chemical in your brain, our happy chemicals, right? And when you're tapping into these energy sources, you're releasing endorphins, you're releasing dopamine, which is going to give you energy and automatically make you feel better in order to tackle your day. If you are leading folks right now, I would suggest making sure that they're following this energy plan. They will in turn be more productive for you. They will in turn be happier teammates for you, right? Number 4 is mental energy. This is when you want to plan and calendar. Gary tells us if it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist. Time blocking was probably the hardest thing for me to master, yet it's the biggest tool in my tool belt. Not having a strong time block is like trying to put a screw in a wall with a hammer. It's not going to turn out very well. It's going to be a little messy, right? And the after effects are probably not going to look good. So as hard and difficult as it can be, mastering your time block is so important. In the beginning, I put everything on my time block, everything on my calendar. I even scheduled time to go to the ladies' room. Why would I do that? Not because I need to be reminded to go to the ladies' room, yet so that I could start building the habit of erasing and replacing. I knew that a visit to the ladies' room would come, and I can't control necessarily when it comes. So when it would come, I would take that block and move it to that time, and it would force me to erase and replace to bring something back into that place. Irene, I'm more than happy to come back in the future and do a session strictly on time blocking in 411 and time management, because I believe it is the biggest tool in our tool belt.
Woman after my own heart.
Yeah. And then number 5 is business energy, right? Lead generate. Also setting your lead generation up for success. Don't start with the hardest people to call. Start with the easiest people to call. Then you're going to get energy that's going to take you through your lead gen to maybe make some more of those difficult calls, and pepper those easy calls that give you more energy throughout your lead gen. And it will make lead generation more, it will gamify it, it will make it more exciting, okay? So the next thing I like to talk about before I really dive in deep to leverage is the story wheel. Right now, we've got a lot of stories in our minds. We've got our clients have stories going on. We have stories going on. We create stories in our mind all day long. So I'm going to take you through how the story wheel works, and then I'm going to take you through a way to reverse it. So the story wheel, and I have it up here on the back of my wall, and I have it on the slide for you. We'll send these slides out after the call. So I'll give you my email address, and if you'd like a copy of the slides and another tool that I'll tell you about, you can drop your email or send me an email and we'll send it to you. So in the story wheel, something happens. So I'm going to use an example, and I'm going to use Irene and Deb only because they're the first 2 people I see on my screen. So let's say that Deb's in the office and Irene walks in one morning and speeds right by Deb and doesn't say hello, doesn't even acknowledge Deb's existence, right? So something happens. That's the something that happens. She walks right by, doesn't say a thing. Then she has a reaction. Deb's going to have a reaction. It's a natural human reaction, right? The minute that I said it, Deb just stuck out her bottom lip with a sad face, right? So that was Deb's reaction. She's upset. She is hurt because Irene says hi to her every morning. And she didn't say hi this morning. She didn't even acknowledge her. She sped right past her. So then what happens is we immediately, after we have the reaction, we go into judgment. We start creating the story. We start telling ourselves, well, she must be mad at me, right? Deb starts saying, well, she's got to be upset. She says hi to me every morning. We talk every morning. So I must have done something wrong if she didn't say hello to me or she didn't acknowledge me. And through that judgment, now Deb has created a new story. She has created a story in her mind that Irene's upset with her. She's mad at her. She's done something wrong. And now what's going to happen is every decision, every behavior going forward, every action, Deb is going to base on that story. She may not talk to Irene that day. She may leave the office because she's so upset. Everything she does that day is going to be based on that story that she's created in her head. And then what she's going to do is she's going to go collect evidence. So she's going to go over to David and she's going to say, hey, David, did Irene say hello to you this morning? And David's going to say, oh, yeah, we had a 20-minute conversation about her long weekend. She had so much fun, had a great time.
Uh-oh.
And then Deb's going to go over to Michael. And she's going to say, hey, Michael, did Irene talk to you this morning? And Michael's going to say, yeah, she actually told me about her new dog she bought this weekend and how the puppy's like already torn up her favorite shoes. And see, Deb's going to go, see, it's right. She's mad at me because she talked to David and Michael. I must have done something wrong. And Deb is going to find enough people to co-sign her story and collect enough evidence to support it that it's going to become a new reality. And she will continue to seek out and collect the evidence that she needs to support the new story. So let's say she goes to Mel and Mel's like, no, she didn't say hi to me. Well, then she's going to go to Jessica and she's going to say, Jessica, did Irene say hi to you? And Jessica's going to say, yes, of course she did. So now she's collected enough evidence through David, Michael, and Jessica. Ignore Mel. Who cares about Mel? Well, we care about you, Mel, but in this situation, right? Who cares? And now she has a new reality. So I ask you, what stories are you creating right now in your business? What stories are your clients creating about the market? And how are you working to reverse those stories, right? So real quick, I'm going to walk you through 5 questions to ask yourself to reverse a story. And you can modify these. You all are all script masters. So you can also modify these to work with your buyers and sellers. So the first one is, what would you like to have happen in the end? What do you want the outcome to be? In this situation, Deb wanted Irene to say hello. She wanted her to acknowledge her, right? So the second question would be, what could you have done differently to make that occur? Well, Deb could have gone into Irene's office or followed her in and said hello. Maybe asked if she was okay, right? Next, you ask, what would you need to shift in your mind, in your thinking and behavior to achieve your desired outcome? Maybe in this case, Deb could have made it a little bit more about Irene and a little bit less about Deb. Maybe she could have gone to a judgment or a curiosity stage instead of a judgment stage. Or she could have gone into concern for Irene, right? And I wonder what's wrong. She didn't say hello. And then you're going to ask, what are you going to tell yourself next time this happens so that you don't think this way? Deb might say, you know what, next time I'm just going to ask. I'm not going to assume. I'm not going to go into judgment. I'm going to get into curiosity. And then the last question would be, what will you gain by doing this? I'll have a better relationship. I won't have wasted all that time collecting evidence. I wouldn't feel bad about myself, right? So you see how if we take the time, every story can be reversed. Because the truth of the matter is, what really happened is Irene got in a fight with her kids, and it was a really rough morning in the morning. I don't even know if you have kids, Irene, but we're just going to go with it. You know, Irene had a really hard morning getting her kids off to school. She spilled coffee all over her lap in her car, and she had a 9 o'clock call that she had to get on with Gary Keller, and it was 8:58 when she walked into the office. Now, if Deb had gone into Irene and said, hey, are you okay? You didn't say hello this morning. Irene would tell her all of that, and Deb would say, oh my goodness, can I get you a towel to clean up the coffee stain? Right? So by getting into curiosity and doing the work right before judgment, we get out of story, right? So it's our job to get our clients out of story. Now we're going to move into, now that we've done some mindset stuff and we get you in the right mindset, now we're going to start talking about knowing your worth. Do you know your worth? So I always say know your worth and you can stop giving discounts. So everybody take out a piece of paper and a pen. And I want you to write down, and it doesn't have to be to the penny for my high C's. It can be very, you know, on average. I would like you to write down your monthly income. Your monthly income. So how much money actually goes into your bank account? This is after broker splits. This is after taxes. How much do you actually get into your bank account? And write that down. Then I'd like you to write down the number of hours that you work per week. Now, this isn't the number, Todd, of the hours that you want to work. It's the actual hours that you do work. A lot of us want to work 40 to 50 hours, and a lot of us work 60 to 80, right? So write down the number that you actually work. Then I want you to take that number and multiply it by 4. So what this is doing is giving us the hours that you work per month. Does that make sense? So your final number should be how many hours you work per month. We're going on a 4-week month. If you have 60 hours a week, then you work 240 hours a month. Everybody with me? Nod your heads if you're with me. Yeah? And now what you're going to do is you're going to take the monthly income amount and you're going to divide it by that last number of your hours that you work per month. So you're going to take that first number and you're going to divide it by the last number. That is going to give you your hourly rate. Now, some of you might have to turn off your video because you need to cry, or some of you might need to go to the bathroom because you may have just thrown up in your mouth a little bit, and some of you might be really happy. I have a feeling that the majority of you are in the first 2 categories, right? Now, the good news is that there's a solution, right? The hard part is it's simple and it's not easy. So number 1 is, do you know your hourly rate first, which we just determined, right? Now it's a roundabout figure. So if you want to do this more in depth for the sake of time, you can actually go and do this more in depth. Pull your last 3 months of income, take an average, take the average of the amount of hours you've worked, and you can pinpoint a little bit closer to what that number is. So the 2 questions I want you to write down, or I choose for you to write down, is number 1, what is raising your hourly rate? What are you doing in your day-to-day activities that is raising your hourly rate? And then the second question I'd like you to ask is, what is lowering your hourly rate? And when you determine, Alessandra, the answers to those questions, you will start doing more of the things that raise your hourly rate, and you will stop doing the things that lower your hourly rate. Now, the other tool I'm going to send you when you email me is what's called a capacity tracker. It's painful. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat it. It's painful, and it will change your world. And what it does is it forces you to write down every single thing that you do for a week. And you look at how much of your time is being spent on certain tasks. And then at the end of a week, you look at it and you say, what's raising it and what's lowering it? And where do I need leverage? Okay.
I've done that 3 times.
And Irene, awesome. Give us what has it done for you?
The first time I did it, we went, from my 14-year-old is still at home because school hasn't started. The first time we went from a virtual assistant to a part-time. The second was from part-time to full-time. And the third, about 6 years later, was getting a second admin. Because we did.
And we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, both. Yeah. Yeah.
And Jonathan just asked a great question. Why is mine so low? And here's the reason why, Jonathan. So when I started studying time management, there's two individuals that I started studying. And that's Warren Buffett and Bill Gates. You guys probably have no idea who they are, right? They're really, really poor. And so I started studying them because the one thing that I've realized, and my dear friend Ben Kenny taught me, is that you and I have one major thing in common with Bill and Warren. And it's not our bank accounts, most likely, or you wouldn't be on this call, right? We have the same 24 hours in a day. We have the same 24 hours that Bill Gates has and that Warren Buffett has. The difference is how we use it and how we choose to use it. So I've put some quotes up that Warren and Bill state about time. So Warren says the difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. So do you think he's saying no to the things that raise his hourly rate or no to the things that lower it? The things that lower it, right? His other quote is the only thing you can't buy. I mean, I can buy anything I want basically, right? Like he super can, but I can't buy time. He cannot buy more time. It's the one thing in life that he can't buy more of, right? So some funny things about Warren. If you've never studied him, there's a documentary on HBO. So if you have the HBO channel through Amazon, you can also purchase it on Amazon, the documentary. There's a documentary on Warren. And a couple of things that I found out, kind of a fun fact. His first wife, Susie, he raised his children. And when the children were out of the house, he was so focused on business, building Berkshire, that she was like, I'm not getting any attention and I want to go to California and do charity work. So I'm leaving. And she called her friend, and I can't remember the friend's name, but called a friend and said, you've got to go over and check on Warren because if you don't, he might die. And so she left and went to California. This other friend took care of Warren and ended up moving in, and they would sign their Christmas cards with all three of them. So essentially he had two wives. And then when Susie died of cancer, he actually married the woman that took for him. So I thought it was just a really fun thing that you would never imagine about Warren Buffett. Now, the more important thing that we can learn from, I'm not telling you to have, polygamy in your world. I mean, if you choose to, that's fine. But that wasn't the learning lesson. The learning lesson is what he does for breakfast every morning. So every morning, his wife puts a certain amount of money in a cup in his car. And Warren goes to the McDonald's in Omaha every morning. And he orders based on the amount of money that's in the cup. So I'm going to throw some random numbers out here, but if he has $2.82 in his cup, he gets a hash brown and an egg McMuffin. If he has $4.13, he gets a pancake breakfast. He has even leveraged out thinking what he wants for breakfast. The decision is made for him automatically every morning. And they know him at this McDonald's, so I've heard it takes him like maybe 2.5 minutes to get through the line because he orders, they have it ready, and then he just flies by. A couple more quotes is, you control your time. Sitting and thinking may be a much higher priority. It's not a proxy of your seriousness that you fill every minute of your schedule. So do you have time on your schedule for thinking time, for on the business time, to plan your vision, to plan your someday goals? And then the last quote again is about buying more time. So where do we start? Well, you can't conquer what you aren't committed to. You have to know what you're committed to. You have to know where you're going. So this doesn't make me probably a favorite of some people, yet I always say it. The trap that we've fallen into this business, especially with our company, is that we see all these massive teams on stage. And we start comparing our insides to their outsides. and we start putting this pressure on ourselves to build these massive teams and to sell thousands of transactions a year, yet that's not truly the business that's going to support our life by design. That's someone else's business that's going to support their life by design. And our egos will tell us that in order to be someone or to be recognized, that we have to have these massive businesses. And the truth is, you don't. The business that you need to have is the one that supports your plan, the one that supports your goals. Do we have any marathon runners on the call? Just nod your head. Yeah, me either. So if you know marathon runners or any type of race, what happens at the end? You hit the finish line and then you're done, right? Most marathon runners are Ironmen, people that have accomplished Ironmans, which we have in the States. I think you might have them in Canada. Yeah, we do. Ask somebody if they've ever run a second major marathon or a second Ironman, and the majority of the people will tell you no. I did it once and that's it, right? They stop. So we don't want our goals to become ceilings for our achievement. We want our goals to be something that we're constantly striving for so that we are able to keep supporting the life by design that we want. Yet in order to do that, we have to know where we're going. In order to bring people into your world and bring on that first and second admin that Irene was talking about, you have to be able to show them where you're going. The millennial generation and beyond want to be a part of something. They want to know that they're a part of something and they're contributing. So you have to know where you're going. So what is your someday goals for your business? Where do you want to be someday? So this might sound crazy to a lot of people, and guess what? I hope it does, because if it's not crazy, then our dreams aren't big enough, right? My someday goal is to be the John Maxwell, Tony Robbins, Brene Brown, right? For my generation. That's my someday goal.
Wow.
So I set this someday goal about 3 years ago. And then what I said was I set my 5-year goal as, okay, I need to speak in front of 10,000 people within 5 years in order to get to that someday goal. And then I set my 3-year goal that I needed to speak in front of 1,000 people in order to reach 10,000 people by 5 years. And then I said, okay, based on my someday goal, in 1 year, I need to speak in front of 500 people. Almost to the day, 1 year later, I was on stage with Gary Keller at Mega Camp. 10,000 plus people. So don't be surprised if you write down these goals and they happen faster than you think, because 9 times out of 10, we don't think big enough. We overestimate what we can do in a day and underestimate what we can do in 10 years.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. Okay. Any questions? If you have any questions, put them in the chat box. Any comments, ahas? I hope that we're getting something out of this. Can you nod your head if you are? If not, we can end now. Okay, good. And everybody can go eat. Okay, so so once we've set our someday goals and where we want to go, now we need to know why we do what we do, right? Our people, us, we have to be able to show people why we do what we do. We have to have focus, clarity, and reality in our businesses. So our mission is, where are we going? Where are we going? What does it look like when we're done? Why do we do what we do long term? What's our vision? Your vision is your short-term goals. Where do you want to see yourself, or what is the vision for the company? Your values. What are your priorities? What are the 4 or 5 words that describe your values? Honesty, integrity, communication, fun, right? One of my core values is fun. I did a breakthrough session with my transformational coach in December, and we identified my values and my aims for every single area of my life: mental, spiritual, physical, health, and relationships. Have you determined what your true values are? I call your values and your beliefs your business integrity check. If something's off in your business, if you're not hitting goal that month, if you're not reaching, you're having trouble with clients or with your team, something's just off, typically it's because you're out of alignment with your values. And if you can identify where you're out of alignment with your values and do that integrity check, everything will start realigning again in your business. It's just that sometimes it's easier to ignore it than it is to do the work to get it back on track.
Yeah.
Right. And the longer we wait, guess what? The harder it becomes to get it back on track. So that should be a little bit of motivation to do it fast, right? And then your perspective, where are we right now? Where are you right now? So let's dive into leverage. The hours that ordinary people waste, oops, sorry about that, sticky fingers. The hours that ordinary people waste, extraordinary people leverage. So we identified your worth, right? We identified your hourly rate. So Webster, our friend Webster says that leverage is used to maximum advantage. I added the word everything. If I could leverage everything in my life, including going to the ladies' room and breathing, I would. There are a few things I can't leverage. It's kind of impossible. Yet, if I can leverage everything that's possible, I'm raising my hourly rate because it's allowing me to focus on the things that raise my hourly rate and not lower it. I use housekeeping and mowing the lawn as a really great example. Gary tells us that if you clean your house and mow your lawn, you're the lawn boy and you're the housekeeper. Now, some people enjoy cleaning their house. I'm not talking to you. The majority of people don't enjoy cleaning their house or mowing their lawns, right? Yet we get caught in this fallacy that if I do it, it's free. No, look down at that number on your piece of paper. That's how much you pay to have your lawn mowed. That's how much you pay to have your house cleaned when you do it. When you start determining your hourly rate, and if something is below it or above it or raising it or lowering it, your world will change. Your income will triple faster than you could ever believe. So when do we need to hire folks? I'll tell you a funny story. It doesn't embarrass me. I come from a single parent family, only child. My mother, I am her whole universe. I have been my whole life. I tried to fight it in my 20s and 30s. Ain't gonna happen. I'm 40 years old and my mother is my personal assistant. She lives in an apartment on my property. She takes care of my house when I'm in Washington. She does my laundry. She preps my meals. She's my mom, and now I just pay her to be my mom because there's no one better to be my mom than my mom. I embraced it, right? So what are you fighting and what limiting beliefs are you telling yourself, like I did for years? Like, I can't be 40 and have my mom taking care of me. Like, no wonder I'm single, right? Yet, who cares? I get to help more people when I leverage the things that take up my time. I hate laundry. I don't ever, like, if you ask me what chore I hate the most, it's anything to do with clothes. I hate washing them. I hate ironing them. I hate hanging them, right? I don't want to do it. I don't need to do it because look down, that hourly rate number, I want it to raise. Laundry does not raise my hourly rate, right? Sorry, I get on a little bit of soapbox there because I believe that we have to hear that because we tell ourselves it's free and we're not free. You are not cheap and you are not free. If you don't hear anything that I say today, I want you to hear that you are worth a higher hourly rate than you wrote on that piece of paper. And what happens is when you don't have that leverage in place, you get the job back. So right now, entering listings into MLS, scheduling showings, providing showing feedback, processing your transactions, all of those things, if you're doing them, are lowering your hourly rate because it's taking you away from the things that you do best that we're going to talk about here in a moment. So the first thing I like to do, Irene, you know the call better than I do and the folks on it. Are we talking to more single agents that have small teams or big teams or a mixture?
I think right now, just doing a very quick survey, we have more single agents and maybe a very small team like ours, but for the most part, more single agents. If anybody disagrees with me, please let me know in the chat. That's just
So we're going to keep,
Stop it.
okay, awesome. Thank you, Irene. We're going to keep it focused here on levels 1, 2, and 3 then, because that's where most of you are. So you'll see that I change up level 1 a little bit. The reason I change up level 1 a little bit is because I believe this is what everyone should be doing. And the old organizational chart was written prior to the introduction of third-party transaction coordinators into our business. Irene, do you have third-party transaction coordinators in Canada?
I don't know that we do.
David's nodding his head yes. David, is that? Yeah?
Want to unmute?
Yeah, I know that some people use them. In fact, somebody was at our office one time, and they had somebody offshore doing their stuff.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, there's virtual options.
Yeah, virtual assistants.
Yeah. Well, I blasted out to about 3,500 TCs this morning looking for people in Canada. So we're going to be starting a Canadian transaction company in 2021 because there's massive opportunity there because there's nobody doing it. So we'll say, when I say third-party transaction coordinator, right now you should hire a virtual assistant or someone that can help with your data entry. A third-party transaction coordinator, if you can find them, is someone that you pay per transaction, and they basically take the file over from contract to close. So they follow up on your deadlines, they do your paperwork, they do your compliance, all of those things. A virtual assistant can do all of that as well. So bringing in cheap leverage, a virtual assistant will cost you $3 to $5 an hour. That's US, I'm not quite sure what the Canadian would be, but $3 to $5, right? That is cheap leverage. So again, if we go back to writing out everything that's lowering your hourly rate, you just made their job description. That's everything they can do for you. And then once you're ready, you can bring on a full-time admin. When you're doing about 24 to 36 transactions a year is when you should start looking at bringing on a full-time admin. A little bit sooner if you're not using a VA. And just remember, it takes about 6 months to really get someone up and running. I always say plan 60 to 90 days to hire and then 90 days to train. So really you should be looking at your projected goals, and 6 months prior to getting to that goal, you should be looking for talent. Just because you're looking doesn't mean you have to hire. Once you bring on that first admin, then you'll go to level 3. When they're at full capacity, you'll bring on another admin. What happens is that somewhere here between level 2 and 3, we don't bring on the second admin, we bring on a buyer's agent.
The fallacy.
And now all of a sudden we're paying a high commission split to a buyer's agent when we could have paid a lower percentage and brought on a showing assistant. A showing assistant is someone that can be an agent in training, right? That opens doors for you. So you pay them a little bit of a base salary and a low commission on anything that closes that they show the home for. They can show homes, they can write offers. And if you have questions about this model, you can email me. I'll give you my email at the end. And I am more than happy to set up a call with you to kind of go through this.
Brindley, I'm just going to jump in for a minute here. We do have a couple of non-KW guests. So if any of you sort of get lost in our lingo, we do have our Keller Williams speak. So if there's any particular questions, especially once we start getting into charts like this, which for us in KW are pretty par for the course, but for some people that aren't in our company, it just might be a little bit confusing. So this is great that we're going through this, but if there's anybody on the call that just needs a little bit more explanation, please reach out to Brindley or myself. We'd be happy to help.
100%. And thank you, Irene, for clarifying that. What's wonderful about Keller Williams is that we are team focused. We believe that you can succeed at a higher level with people. And so that's what we're talking about. So just to give a long-term cast of vision, the place that we're going to, and this is where I want to expand your minds a little bit and get you thinking, if you would like to build a big business, this is what we call 7th level. And this is when you build a business that you now just create passive income from. So you have a CEO that runs the company and is the only person that answers to you. So I like to share that because this is the possibility, but we're not going to confuse you with how to build this on this call. Okay. I don't want to overwhelm you. So who do you hire? You hire talent. And this is I'm looking for my red book. By the way, if you don't have a red book, get a red book. This is what a red book looks like. This is your operations manual. This is what teaches you everything that you need to know about talent and about real estate. So on page 161, it's not set up like a table like this. It's the bullet points. And for those of you that are guests on our call, I'm sure Irene would be more than happy to send you a copy. But this is, I call this the operations manual for real estate agents. This and our shift book. So talent pushes you to get answers. Non-talent has to be pushed. Talent shares your goals and fulfills your needs as a natural byproduct of fulfilling their own because you're in alignment. Non-talent isn't fulfilling your needs and gives you back the job. Talent knows what it wants and is searching. Non-talent has no idea. Talent pushes you. Non-talent, you have to push them. Talent continues to raise the bar. Non-talent doesn't even know where the bar is or if there even is a bar. Talent's going to find solutions. Non-talent's going to bring you problems. Talent is going to talk the language of action and results. Non-talent, when they try to talk action and results, they can't back it up. So for those of you that don't have talent, when you go to hire, I choose for you to use this chart to identify if the person is talent. For those of you that have talent on your team, I encourage you to take this and ask yourselves, am I in business with talent? Right? And then the perfect match. The perfect match is a person that has the knowledge, skills, and track record and the personality to get the job done. And they are a cultural fit in line with where the organization is going. So remember, not only do they have to have the skills and the set, they have to be able to fit the culture. So what will they do? So once you've hired them, once you've determined who you need to hire, and then you hire them, what are they going to do? So I would choose for you to write this down if you don't know it already. Gary tells you there's 5 things that a real estate agent should be doing, and the only things they should be doing first. Lead generation, lead follow-up, negotiating contracts, going on appointments, and scripts and role play. That's it. Everything else comes next. Everything else is what we call your 80%. It's all the stuff that takes you away from making money. And it's all the things that you should leverage so that you can focus on lead gen, lead follow-up, negotiating contracts, going on appointments, scripts, and role play. I tell agents all the time, take the risk and hire someone. I promise you that just by hiring that person, you will make the money to pay them.
As long as they're the right person.
100%, Irene, 100%. And if you follow our recruiting process that we offer at Keller Williams, you have a higher likelihood of finding the right person. Talent wants to be held accountable. Talent wants to do the job. Oops, sorry guys. Fat fingers again. So we've talked about people. Now I just want to quickly go into systems. So leverage comes in the form of people or a system. Write this down. You can't throw money or people at a problem until your system is working for you at the highest level it can. You can't throw money or people at a problem until your systems are working at the highest level they can. Because systems are free or cheaper than people, right? So if the 5 things that Gary wants us to focus on are lead generation, lead follow-up, appointments, negotiations, and scripts and role play, start there. Those things are in order of priority for a reason. So start with, what is your lead generation system? If you take the first 30 minutes of your day every day, before your day takes off, before you open your email, before you check your voicemail, if you just take the first 30 minutes of the day and work on your systems, by the end of a week, you'll have 2.5 hours in to working on your systems. The problem is that this is the hidden priority, right? And we put it on our calendar and it's the first thing to come off when we need to move it. So if we do it first thing in the morning, we get it done, and just small increments. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? So a couple do's and don'ts around systems before we wrap up is, number one, do keep it simple. You should be able to explain your systems to a 7-year-old. And a 7-year-old should be able to follow it. Do keep it simple, because if you keep it simple, it will be scalable, meaning that you can carry it through. So when you're setting up a system, ask yourself, if I'm doing 24 transactions this year, will this system work for me at 100? And if not, what do I need to change? Because then you won't have to change that system until you get to 100 transactions. Do keep your system going. When you're building a system, start with the end in mind. What am I trying to achieve? What do I want the outcome to be? What do I want this system to do for me? Ask, what is the number one priority for this system? Always remember, a system is to move you from X to Y by Z. It moves you from a start to an end by a certain time. Couple don'ts is, don't set it and forget it. Don't start a system and then not use it. The best system that you can ever create is the one you're going to use. If you have an admin, make sure they're good at building systems, yet they're not the one that's going to be using it. Make sure that you're involving the user in the planning. So you're building the system that the end user will actually use and understand. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't overthink it. And again, don't use people or money first. Systems come first. And don't design in a vacuum. Think bigger. Think out far. Go to your someday goals. Will my systems support that?
That's great.
I know. Oh, thank you, Irene. I know I've thrown a lot of information at you guys. It's just to get your brains thinking. You can contact me if you would like to go deeper on a subject or have questions. If you'd like a copy of the slides and the capacity tracker, you can email me, brindley@kw.com. Irene, do we have a few minutes for any questions or ahas, if anybody has them?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to hear. We have a good crowd here. I'd love to hear from some of you, whether it's in the chat or if you want to unmute yourself. Deb?
Yeah, I have a quick question. I didn't quite follow what you said for, well, first of all, thank you, Brindley. And it's nice to see you with your hair down. You look awesome. I didn't quite follow when you said do move from X to Y by Z. What was?
Yes.
Can you tell me that again?
Yeah, so I always say it's a system or a leverage. It's the job of leverage to move you from one thing to the goal by a certain deadline or date. So I'll even say, like, something as simple as a housekeeper. The housekeeper is supposed to move me from a messy house to a clean house by the end of the day, right? A lead generation system is supposed to move me from the time a lead comes in to an agreement signed within a 3-day time span, or whatever that deadline is. Do you follow me there, Deb? Is that easier?
That's great. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. This presentation is awesome. You've put everything together in a really nice, like, it's a lot of us have seen this in various forms, and I love how you've done it. It's really, really great. Thank you.
Thank you. And so just one more note on that. Remember that your hires, you have to know what their X and Y is, because they have to know what's expected of them and what their metrics are. So if you're hiring an admin, have SMART goals for them, and they have to be quantifiable. You know, it's their job to grow your database from 100 METs to 200 METs in their first 90 days, right? And if you are ever setting up a 90-day plan, you can always email me and I'll give you my input on it. I love to help agents with that.
Brindley, I love the line that you had that it's so clear: leaders bring focus, clarity, and reality to the business. And I think where a lot of, well, certainly single agents and teams aren't immune, is there's that lack of clarity. So they don't really know what they want. You know, either because they don't have the skills or because they just haven't had the experience with it. So I know that the biggest challenge that I hear from a lot of agents, especially as they're getting going, is where do I start? Like, how do I, let's say somebody wants to hire a VA, because I think that's a great low cost, high efficiency option for people who don't want to or aren't ready to hire. How would they even go about doing that?
So I'll show you, just because we're online together. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can jump it on here real quick. There is a website called onlinejobs.ph. So it's PH, it's not .com, it's PH for the Philippines. And basically when virtual assistants first came on the scene, there was a company called My Outdesk. And then some other companies have built since then. Now these companies are great. They charge an upcharge because they will train them and they will do all the payment and all of that. Yet you're going to pay about anywhere from 40 to 60% more than you would have to pay if you hire them on your own. So what's really great is all these virtual assistants got together and they said, I'm done. I'm done the middleman making all this money. Here's the thing about the Philippines. Always, I say this, and I can say this because I'm talking about the Philippines and they're not under our HR rules. Ask what their religious affiliation is. Filipinos are very highly cultural based, loyal, and religious based. And what I have found is when they are involved in their church, they're more dependable, they're more reliable. I know that might be a little bit taboo for some of us that aren't in that kind of world, yet I have just found that anyone that has active involvement in their church have been harder workers and they've been more loyal. So what's great is they all decided, hey, let's get together and start a website to advertise ourselves where American workers and Canadian workers can hire us direct, Australia, all over the country. I've got Australian business owners that use them. So what you can do now is you can go into their homepage and you can search resumes. So I can type in Keller Williams, and because they've been around for so long and our company and our agents have been using them, hopefully this is not going to take forever. It will pull up every resume that has a VA that has worked for a Keller Williams agent.
That's fantastic.
So you'll see I have 176 job seekers that have Keller Williams in their profile, right? Wow. So office assistant, customer service, transaction coordinator right here, right? We have 6, we call them partners. We treat them as part of our team. We have 6 partners on our team. So once you find somebody, you don't pay until you want to look at them. And then you also can post a job, and it's a very minimal amount, you know, 40, 50 bucks a month, and totally worth it. Also remember that $5 an hour to them is like $25 an hour to us. I have a virtual assistant. We've been through a lot of team turnover as I've been rebuilding our team since I left MAPS in October. And I have a partner VA that has been with me through it all. And we do 411s with them. We help them meet their personal goals. A lot of people treat VAs like secondhand help. And that's when you end up getting yourself into trouble and they don't show up and they're not on time and all of that. People want to be appreciated. And if they feel appreciated, they'll give back. And so she came to her 411 and she said, I want to go back to school. And I want to thank you because YRL is going to allow me to do it. And I said, oh, really? I said, well, how much does it cost? How do you pay? And she said, it's monthly and it's this many pesos. And I said, okay, how much US is that? And she said, $28 a month. And I said, I'm going to pay for your school.
Wow.
Because it's $5 a week to me. To her, it will change her life. Do you think
Wow.
she's ever going to leave me? Do you think she's going to work harder for me? Now, that's not why I'm doing it, yet that's the byproduct of it, right? So just a couple tips there that you can, like, you'll pay them a minimal amount, but throw them $100 bonus when they do a great job. $100 to us is a night out. $100 to them is a month worth of groceries.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. So I would start, back to your question, Irene, the first place I would start is take a half a day on a weekend and go to a very special place that you love, whether it's the woods, the beach, your favorite place in Toronto, and take a notebook and a pen and go write out what you want your life by design to look like. Go sit, close your eyes and picture yourself sitting in a rocking chair on your front porch at 80, and then look backwards. What did you accomplish? What did you want to do in life? And then come up with a plan to build the business. And Irene is more than happy to help any of you with this, I'm sure. Come up with a plan to build the business to support that. I live in Washington in the summers, and I get to live, I'm a snowbird at 40 years old. And I've set up my life by design. So I hope that's a little bit of encouragement. Any other ahas or questions?
I'd love to hear any more ahas. We had a really great one from Alessandra, thinking about hourly rate really puts things into perspective. And, you know, that was one of the focus points that I wanted to make clear, even just doing the promo here, is it's really easy. And you touched on it. It's really easy to think, well, if I do it, it's free. But no, it's not. Because if your time is free to do bigger things, then you can create more opportunity for everything else that's going to be in your life.
100%. And I would encourage you, take a Post-it note and write that hourly rate down and put it in front of you where you see it every day. And then take your average commission check and put that number on a Post-it note and put it right next to it. And you'll start making different decisions about where you're spending your time when you have those numbers in front of you all day. It's crazy how it happens.
So I think I should throw in here before you leave us, you sort of glossed over it, but YRL is your company, Your Realty Leverage.
Yes, it is.
And if anybody wants to actually take advantage of your skills in searching and hiring and training, then I see here you've put your contact information into the chat window. So if anybody's at a point where you are in a position to do some hiring, but you don't think you have the skills to do it, and you don't want to take the time to do the career visioning that we at KW suggest that you do, then I think it's okay if I encourage them to reach out to you, Brindley.
100%, 100%. I also do 15, 20, 30-minute consults with agents just to give them some direction on where they're at. So I just ask that you be flexible on time with those, and you can email me to set that up, anything that you need. And then again, just remember to email me if you'd like the slides and the capacity tracker from today's talk. Thank you so much.
Awesome, Brindley. Thank you so much. Mwah. We will send you the recording when this is done. And anybody else on the call, if there's anything you need, you know how to find me.
Amazing. You guys are awesome. Have an awesome, awesome week, and I will talk to you soon.
And Brindley, you and I are talking Friday.
Yes, we're talking Friday.
We're out of time.
Yep.
Excellent.
All right.
Thanks, Brindley. Great to see you.
Bye.
Bye, David. Bye, Deb. Bye, everybody.
Wow, that was worth the price of admission.
I'm going to do one great speaker a month, David.
Great. Thank you very much for setting them up.
Yep. Great. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you later.